This is the first part for chapter 15. We're going to look at aldehyde and ketone. What you need to recognize is that carbonyl group, and this is where you have a carbon linked to an oxygen with a double bond, where we classify them looking at what is bonded to the carbon. The one we're going to look at are aldehyde and ketone, and then next chapter will be carboxylic acids and ester and amide. So why are they important? Well, aldehyde ketones have similar properties because the C double bond O are bonded to carbon and hydrogen atom that do not attract electron very strongly. I won't ask you so many questions about the properties, but you do need to know how to name them. Aldehyde, you have here a compound that has a carbonyl C double bond O bonded to at least one hydrogen. So the general formula is R, which is an organic group, CHO. So there should be C double bond O and then the hydrogen. Always ends a carbon chain. A ketone has a carbonyl group bonded to two organic compound, two carbon in organic groups that can be the same or different. So the general formula is R, this is an organic group, C double bond O, R prime, same or different organic group, always within a carbon chain. This is here an example. That's the only one I will ask you to know both the IUPAC name, which is 2-propanone, and the common name, acetone, because you're going to be using this. Aldehyde and ketone, known by their common name as well as by using the IUPAC naming system. So just be able to name and draw simple aldehyde and ketone, or when I give you the structure or a name. So how do we do this? Well, some examples here. Simple aldehyde are known by their common name, which is in blah 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 aldehyde. Now, when you look at the IUPAC system, you remove A and E from the parent alkane and replace that E with Al. When you see Al, you know it's an aldehyde. When you do have substituents, then you are going to number the carbon atom on the chain, starting with the carbonyl, the C double bond carbon atom. So here on the left side, formaldehyde is another one I'm going to ask you, acetaldehyde, benzaldehyde. Right side, if I were to ask you to use the IUPAC system, you count how many carbon atoms you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's a bute. You see C double bond OH, so you know it's going to be a butanol. Now you do know that by convention you start the carbon numbering it number 1, where you have the double bond with the oxygen and the hydrogen. So you don't need to include that in the name. Then you look at the substituent. Here I see a methyl. Now I need to start numbering my carbon atom from right to left. So 1, 2, 3, and that becomes a 3-methyl butanol. When we look at ketone, well, most of the time we use common name. And that's going to help you by just looking at the two alkyl groups that are bonded to the C double bond oxygen, or the carbonyl carbon, followed by the word ketone. So we replace, for more difficult molecule, the E from the alkane with ONE, and we pronounce that ON. Numbering of the alkane chain begins again at the end that is nearest to the carbonyl group. So here example, acetone, that you should know. I count how many carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3, so it's a propane, but I have C a double bond with the carbon and the oxygen, so that becomes a propanone on carbon number 2, so it's also the 2-propanone. In the middle, you have here the C double bond O on carbon number 2. On the left side I see a methyl. On the right side I see 2 carbon atoms, so it's ethyl. So it can be called methyl ethyl ketone, but also the 2-butanone, because the carbon number 2 is where you have that double bond with the oxygen, making it a ketone. Third example on that same line, methylpropyl ketone or a 2-pentanone. Same thing, find the longest chain of carbon atom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where do you find the C double bond O, carbon number 2? So there will be a 2-pentanone. And then sometimes you have a cyclic that is linked to that ketone, and that example is the cyclohexanone. Some example right here on the next slide is to look at a worked example. How do you give the IUPAC name for that compound? How do I do that? Well, I do know it's a ketone because I see there is a C double bond oxygen, so that's the carbonyl group. And you see two alkyl group. One is the ethyl on the left. I have 2 carbon atoms, CH3, CH2. And the one on the right is a propyl because I have 3 carbon atoms, CH2, CH2, CH3. So the name I should give it, well, I need to put a number on those carbon atoms to make sure the carbon that holds the C double bond oxygen has the lowest number. So here I start from left to right. 1, 2, 3, carbon, double bond oxygen, 4, 5, 6. And when I give it the name here, it's a 3-hexanone. Other name is the common name, which is ethyl propyl ketone.